Hello, folks, and welcome to your Day Weather Podcast on this, the 25th of June, 2021. I'm day weather meteorologist Mark Huer. Well, mild with moisture along the Rockies eastward. It's the opposite, though, the exact opposite across the far western United States. Cooler than average for the divide eastward on into next week. Showers and thunderstorms as well. Even some monsoonal activity starting to show up. Intense high pressure out in the Pacific Northwest makes for dangerous heat from the Great Basin on westward as we work our way through the weekend and into at least the first half of next week. Is there severe weather in the forecast for the plains and high plains? We'll touch on that here today, too. But first, let's talk about the Never Summer Rodeo up in the ever-friendly town of Walden, Colorado, in Northport, Colorado. It's a big-time event in a small town and a great weekend event to enjoy the rodeo, tasty eats, mutton busting, and also don't forget about the parade on Saturday. It kicks off today and lasts right through Sunday. All right, so it's been hot and dry across much of the country, especially the western half of the country over the last several days. And here is a 7-day precipitation anomaly map. Do have some moisture in the southeastern United States. That was from Tropical Storm Claudette that worked its way through the southeast several days ago. A little bit of some moisture across sections of the upper Midwest and the Corn Belt as well. Had a little bit of thunderstorm activity across sections of the high plains late last week. Otherwise, really a lot of dry conditions over the last 7 days. The wide areas is average precipitation, but there just isn't a lot of moisture falling this time of the year across the Great Basin, the western United States. Then all the brown is below average precipitation for the last 7 days. How about heat? Well, here is the 10-day temperature anomaly for the last 10 days through yesterday, Thursday at noon. Really, from the central plains on westward, hot, well above average temperatures. That's especially true west of the divide, from the western Rockies through the Great Basin down to the desert Southwest. Temperatures as much as 10 to 20 degrees above average, readings well in the hundreds. 100 to 110 to even 120 degree high temperatures across sections of the Great Basin and the desert Southwest. Several days ago, nice little trough across much of the east, keeping temperatures a few to several degrees below average. So what do we have lying ahead of us over the next several days? Well, we've got this big ridge of high pressure starting to expand over the Pacific Northwest. Don's been talking about this big trough of cool low pressure bringing significant changes along and east of the Continental Divide all through the plains, and it is here now. It arrived over the course of Thursday. An impressive low pressure system up in the Hudson Bay area. Temperatures across this section of Canada into 40s and 50s for highs, and that's allowed some nice cool air to make its way down along and east of the Rockies, and temperatures a good anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees cooler than average along and east of the Rockies over the next few days. So this is valid for this morning. We've got that high pressure out over the Pacific Northwest, and unfortunately it's going to be intensifying. Let's fast forward though to Sunday morning. We can see that ridge amplifying. This is when things really get hot out across the Pacific Northwest and western Kansas or western Canada. The trough of low pressure continues its southward dive, and we're going to be looking at below average temperatures all the way down in the southern plains and Texas come Sunday and early next week. Nice shot of cool air bringing big relief across the Rockies and plains, but out west from central California on northward through British Columbia and into the northern Rockies, we're talking temperatures 20 to 30 degrees above average. Record highs, unfortunately, will be falling all over the place, and it's also going to be very dry. Okay, so we're here Sunday morning. Let's take it out a little further. Tuesday morning, start to see a few more ripples out here in the Pacific. That's going to be important potentially for later in the week. Still big high pressure ridge along and west of the Continental Divide, but it's starting to shift a little eastward. The trough is also starting to weaken a little bit, and we have intensifying high pressure out here across the East Coast. Early next week, still below average temperatures all throughout the plains and high plains, even down into northern Texas. Extremely hot weather starts to push eastward into Idaho and western Montana. Also, it's going to start to push westward across the divide in Wyoming and also Utah and Colorado. Still, though, no intense heat as we get into early next week. Once you get out into far eastern Montana, eastern Wyoming, and eastern Colorado. So that's some good news. And there's also going to be some additional and ongoing shower and thunderstorm activity. So we know it's going to get hot and we know it's going to be cool in the plains, but how far from average will it be? Well, temperatures a good 10 to, in some cases, 15 degrees cooler than average for this area all the way through next Thursday. And it will be the far western United States that's going to be sizzling, scorching heat well into northern Canada and the Rockies. Temperature readings 20 to 30 degrees, like we mentioned, above average. And that means highs in this area here, 80s, 90s, and even some triple digit readings, record highs, record heat, record drought. Big problems going to be intensifying, unfortunately, out across Pacific Northwest and western Kansas. So that's the heat. How about the moisture? Here's a 7-day precipitation total forecast. And you can see it's from about the Montana, North Dakota borderline, then along the divide on eastward, where the shower and storm activity is going to be. We got a little bit of some monsoonal thunderstorms starting to show up in the Great Basin. It very well, though, could do more harm than good. This could be some spotty, gusty storm activity with the drought conditions and the parched conditions. Dry lightning not going to be good here across the Great Basin and into the Sierra Nevadas. But monsoonal moisture and thunderstorm activity increasing in Arizona, increasing in New Mexico, increasing in Colorado. And then you can see right where the trough of low pressure in the frontal system exists across the southern plains, Midwest, and the upper Midwest. A lot of moisture interacting with this cool front, and that's going to be creating some good rainfall all across this area right through late next week. Not a lot going on in the southeastern United States, especially the Ohio and then the Tennessee River valleys. And just that touch of moisture out in the west, but unfortunately, the Pacific Northwest remains bone dry. And then we do have a little tropical system down here across the southern Pacific. It very well could be adding some tropical moisture to the increasing monsoonal flow we could see next week as high pressure shifts a little bit more south and west, helping to bring that clockwise flow, monsoonal moisture, and some much needed moisture into the central Rockies and high plains. So that's the outlook on temperatures and precipitation. Let's touch on severe weather for a minute. Here's today's severe weather outlook. We do have a slight risk across sections of eastern Colorado, northern Texas, western Oklahoma, out across pretty much all of Kansas, then into sections of the Corn Belt. Slight risk is really going to be good and indicative of some hit and miss severe weather. And for this slight area, today we're going to be looking at the biggest threat being some 60-plus mile per hour winds and potentially some inch hail or larger. Tornadic threat, though, is going to be very small. It's not until you start to see enhanced and then especially moderate severe weather threats that you really get into widespread, significant severe weather and when concerns really get high. So not big concerns today, but some here across this yellow shaded area. Tomorrow, even less. A lot of garden variety showers and thunderstorms. We have a big, cool pool of air across the plains, and that's going to keep a lid on the vast majority of severe weather tomorrow, right along the frontal boundary and the trough of low pressure, though. Could see a couple of strong to severe storms for this region. Otherwise, garden variety. Rain soaking, much needed moisture falling from the good activity along in West Divide Saturday and into much of next week. Thanks for watching today. We'll talk to you early next week. And don't forget to subscribe to your day weather video YouTube channel.